Welcome to another segment here with Breakthrough 3X and some of the top experts in the world. Let me ask you this. Would it be worth to you if you could have the ability to master advertising profitably? Would it be worth if you could actually pick the brains of some of the leading experts in the world on advertising and marketing profitably? What if you could actually, speak with somebody who is at the tip of the spear, the tip of the iceberg, as far as not only the knowledge, but also curating a team of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of the leading experts in the world, and being able to pull off all that data? Well, if any of that's intriguing to you, you are going to love today's interview, today's segment, today's session. Why? We have Liana Ling, who is the CEO of AdSkills.com. And I encourage you right now, go to AdSkills.com, pull it up in a separate browser, separate tab, and you can check out the wealth of info they've got available to help you advertise more profitably. But let me give you a little context of Liana. She, before the last decade of helping people like you, people like me, founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, coaches all over the globe grow their business using advertising profitably, primarily through digital marketing, she was an attorney. Like, go figure. Like, how does a former attorney turn into a digital marketer and do it successfully and then become the CEO of a company like AdSkills? Well, that's what she's done. She's taken her analytical skills combined with creativity and marketing. And when you get a chance to hear from her and see, and if you go deeper with some of the tools and resources, that you'll see that creativity and that contribution heart at play. Here's the bottom line. She can show you how to go learn the newest advertising and marketing strategies profitably. And there's a whole lot more I want to say, Liana, but I want to dive into it. So welcome to the segment. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm just really excited to be here with you, Dan.
Same here. Same here. I'm fascinated, on people's journeys. Like, we all seem to have some kind of story that got us here. It can be from childhood trauma all the way to, all kinds of other reasons and purpose. So, why are you doing what you're doing today?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, nobody's asked me that in a while. So I love that you asked me that. And I don't want it to sound maybe a little bit too woo-woo, but at its core, I love helping people. And over the years, what I found is I've discovered that I have a passion specifically to help business owners. And at AdSkills, we really help agency owners and freelancers, but they're business owners and entrepreneurs. And that is really at my heart. And, right before, when we were just chatting a little bit, I was going on and on and on about, people saying, hey, I tried this and this happened to me, and tried this and this happened to me. And that is really the best time of the day when I get those. It totally makes my day. I just light up. I could talk for hours about that. And that just makes me very, very, very excited. And it's why I do it, why I do what I do.
And it's so fascinating, because before, getting prepped for this segment, right, we were talking about a challenge you were really excited about, and how, a multi-day challenge, and just seeing all the hundreds and hundreds of people engaging and then applying it and coming to you, sending the message, this is working, this is working, it lights up our soul. And I can tell that it lights yours up too. So I'm curious. This is kind of, my brain kind of goes all over the place a bit. So bear with it. So, you've been at this for a decade, and a lot's changed in a decade with digital marketing, digital advertising. A lot's changed in the last 90 days at the time we're doing this.
In the past 2 days, probably.
Exactly. So, what do you feel has changed the most? What's the same today for business owners? And maybe what's different that maybe people aren't recognizing? I'm curious your take on it.
Sure. What's the saying? The more things change, the more things stay the same.
So true.
It's when you look back over the past decade, and even before that, right? I mean, when I was an attorney, one of the stressful things for me was the marketing part of it, right? Because we didn't get trained for that in law school. And when I look back there too, what has stayed the same is we're all still human. I don't see a lot of aliens among us yet, right? So we're all still human. And it's still all about how can humans relate to humans. That to me has always stayed the same. So things that I have done over the years in terms of building relationships, building rapport, a human communicating with other humans, that's still the same. And in fact, if you want to grow, I found that the more you stick to that, the more successful you become, because a lot of what has happened recently at the time that we're chatting is a lot of AI, a lot of like tech stuff is happening. And what I'm seeing is that people are getting distracted by that, right? It's, oh, there's an AI for that. Yes, AI can do probably anything you can think of. It really can. It's just limited by your imagination. And I love AI. I love tech, but it right now, I think it's taking people's focus away from, you still need to make that human connection at some level. You absolutely have to. But what the good thing about AI, I think it's done is it's leveled the playing field. When we're trying to create more connections and we're trying to become more visible and we're just trying to build more relationships, for a lot of people, they could only do it with like a tiny sphere of people around them, right? And it was only, available to the big companies. Like even if you could run some ads, it's still, the big companies will always beat you because they have so much more money. But with AI and the technology that's happening now, I mean, it's taken over so many of the, like, just the time consuming administrative tasks that anybody can do it. And it's becoming so that you don't even need to use code. Like you just have to say, I want this, and it happens. Like you just have to speak and it becomes reality, basically. So imagine what you can actually do with that now so that you can spend more of your time on building the human interaction and the human element, and let AI kind of do all that other stuff. So that's the biggest change. But to me, it's going to take a while for humans to figure out that balance, because we're at this point where it's everybody's so excited about it and it's something new, right? But I think they will realize that we have to address that balance again, and just figure out how do we keep our humanness in with all the tech that's happening.
I can't agree more. And I know in our framework we call this the HOP, right? So HOP, you've got to humanize it, optimize the experience, and personalize the experience. And that's where you get like great marketing interconnecting with selling, right? Or buying is a better framework. It creates a buyer's model or buyer's culture. And so, like, where do you see most people, because there's just all the, and for 10 years, like there's been all kinds of things, right? All kinds of fascinating tech that comes out, and people seem to like those shiny objects, right? But where do you see most people, Liana, making mistakes in, their approach to, marketing, digital advertising, et cetera? What have you seen, especially with the broad range of thousands and thousands of people you work with regularly?
Yeah. I'm seeing, so first thing I'm seeing is overcomplicating things. But again, there's so much out there. So when you see new software come up, like literally, probably while we're talking, there's been like, I don't know how many new SaaS have launched, right? They're complicating it, because just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. I kind of talk about like when Bluetooth first came out, we're like, Bluetooth everything. You don't need Bluetooth on everything, right? You don't need to AI everything, and you don't need to spend all your time jumping into AI either. So just focus back on like simplifying, stop overcomplicating things. You don't need all these like tons and tons and tons of stuff. Just simplify it. And I think also along with that, I'm seeing there's also analysis paralysis. So that's also not good. There's so much, people are overwhelmed, or it's moving so fast that it makes some people and some teams and businesses feel almost like, wow, like I can't even keep up. And it just stops them in their track. So then they stop doing everything because they don't know which way to go, right? And that's also a big mistake too, right? Even if you need to just keep moving forward, just one step in front of the other, just one thing at a time. And the bigger you get, the harder it is, to move so quickly with everything. So that's also what I'm seeing. And the third thing is then just bringing it back to the humanness, like just figuring out how the AI fits into actually how it can help you, as opposed to just because it's AI, put it out there.
And when you think of that, like, I wonder your thoughts, right? Because I feel like a lot of times, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because of a sports background, I find that sometimes people who have a sports background understand this a little bit differently in the journey. Is there's a lot of people who seem to get, I'll call it at the core of getting started in business, people seem to immediately move into technician mode. Like, in other words, they have to do it all themselves. And then, people get to a place of, call it, owner or CEO maybe, and they start letting some of that go and go, yeah, let's bring other people to help support that. And then others, kind of to our point, preparing for our conversation, you're talking about the importance of thinking time, how valuable that is, right? Where you can work on it, not so much in it. And that's more like the chairman mind, right? The chairman, not that we don't play all three, and especially if we're emerging business. So speak to maybe the thinking behind the thinking of how someone can go from overcomplicating it to simplifying, to being caught up in more of the day-to-day of trying to learn all these new tech fascinating CRMs, softwares, et cetera, and then really being able to stay at a higher level, but still be productive and get results. I'm curious your take.
Sure. And I'm sure you've seen this too. It's about scheduling time to think and prioritizing time to think, even if you're starting out. I've been there. I get it. There's so much you have to do. And it's so easy. Again, even as I know, like even as you're scaling, right? I've done a lot of work with Inc. 5000 companies too, like really fast growing companies. And I know things are just nuts and you don't have any time during the day, but you have to prioritize time just to strategize and just reflect and fit that into your schedule somehow. So I do that where I go walking every day. When I don't walk, I really, really, really miss it because I need that hour where I'm just thinking, right? And I'm strategizing and I need that time now. I'm addicted to it. But so number one, just put that in your calendar. Because if you don't put in your calendar, you and I know, right? It's not going to happen. So put it in your calendar and prioritize it. Don't just say, oh, I'm just thinking about stuff. That's the most important thing you can do. So actually prioritize it as if it was a meeting with a client or something that's like very direct revenue generating. Do that. And that's the first thing, is because if you don't prioritize, it's not going to get done. And then the second thing is, the way I look at it is, I know a lot of us are in the weeds, just getting stuff done. And so what I would recommend is spend the first part of your season where you're thinking about stuff and look at how you're spending your day and identify what is stuff that you're doing that's just repetitive. Like if you repeat it 3 times or even 5 times, what is that? And just ask yourself, number one, is there somebody else that can be doing that? Or is there a way that I can automate or use AI so that I'm totally out of it? Ask yourself that every day, because then over time, little by little, you're going to free yourself up. It could be as simple as, I was talking to a CEO the other day where he said, like, I've spent all my time answering questions. And I said, are you answering the same question? And he's like, pretty much, because everybody's asking for help. I was like, well, then just record your answer and put it somewhere that everybody can see it and ask them to watch it and then talk to you, right? You want to take it further, you can dump everything in your brain into a chat bot and just ask your team to talk to that chat bot, and then have a policy where what gets escalated to you actually does. So now you've probably just freed up, 80% of your time right there. But just think about that. And that's how I've dealt with it, because I know, especially when you're doing live launches, it gets crazy. But I keep that time in place, and it's a sacred time for me, because I know if I don't do it, I will get in the weeds, and then it'll become this downward spiral where it's so much harder to get out of it. To kind of get back on top there, where you, like you said, the chairman's mind. And then, and if it's not automation, maybe it's a person. I actually have a person. I pay for him to meet with me regularly, where he also asks me that question, and we go through what has to get put off, what can he take off of me. He's sort of like a COO, but not really, because he's just part-time, but he's really, really good at that. And I found for me, yes, there's AI, and I talk to AI all the time just to help me out. But for me, I also need a human to actually meet with me and just to ask me that question, to almost make me accountable. And then he can go off and he can just take stuff that's on my plate and just like handle it. And if I skip meeting with him, then it's not gonna happen. But I figured that out. I figured that's what I need, and so I put that in place.
That's amazing. I mean, there's so many layers of wisdom in what you're sharing. What I find about you, Liana, is I've observed your journey a bit over the last handful of years, and now where you're CEO of AdSkills, is like you have this unique, like, analytical, kind of almost COO mind, along with a CEO creative advertising mind, that, like, storyteller. Like, that's kind of a unicorn, right? So, like, as you think about your journey, and how you've, about a little over a decade doing what you're doing, and then building, and now, I mean, like, you're working with a lot of change makers in the world, doing what you do, and have all kinds of data to support what's working, what's not. What's some of the biggest mistakes, I'm curious, you would say you've made as you reflect back? What did you learn from it that
Oh,
maybe our viewers and
wow.
listeners could learn from?
Wow, how much time do you have? There's so many. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, the if as I look back, the biggest, and by the way, I just want to say that a lot of it too is it's your background. I mean, you kind of talked about, oh, we got here from childhood trauma. I mean, it's sort of like taking everything that you had in your life, and for me, having law school, but then also at the same time, being at, well, look, of course, my parents forced me to do music, and then you get used to it, but having that music background and having a creative background as well, I love to do arts and crafts, and I was a concert pianist and concert harpist for a while too. So that with the law, I kind of just fused together into this crazy like analytical creative person, but then I can leverage that, right? I think everybody has something like that in them. So I, just to kind of pull that out. But I think in terms of just things that I continue to work on, a big thing that I'm always working on is, first of all, empathy.
Mm.
And I think especially I didn't appreciate it as much as I was growing up as a professional. And it caused me a lot of problems. It caused me, I mean, that's one of the PTSD things I have about being in corporate America. And I realize now, of course, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it's all my fault, but I think I could have handled it better and probably saved myself a lot of mental health issues if I practiced empathy. It's really, I find that's actually the hardest thing for me is empathy. And I'm good at it because I know it's hard. So I work at it, right? It's really, really hard. And I think just really being empathizing with your team members, with the people that you work with your customers, your clients, members, whatever you want to call it, and then pausing and really thinking about how does my action or how does my communication, how would that make them feel? And, like, that's why I love ChatGPT. I love generative AI because I've created an ideal persona of me in there. And I now actually reflect back so that my communication is much more empathetic and I don't make those same mistakes. I've absolutely burned bridges. I've been fired. I've also just had like really, really bad mental health days because I think that I didn't empathize enough to really understand. And then reflecting that, okay, like what I did maybe triggered the other person, in that type of situation. So just being more aware of that, because I can't change the other person. I can change me. I can't change the other person. So that's one thing. And actually another big mistake I made too was, I think as you grow up, we get what do we love to hear people say? Oh, you're so good at that, right? You're so great at that. And I would grow up and people would say, oh, you're so good at so many things. Because I come from I'm Chinese, so what happens? You grow up, you have all these extracurricular activities, you have music, you have to do this. You're expected to get like 100% and everything, and you live for that praise. And what I learned actually from a gentleman named Lewis Schiff, because he did a study on this, I learned that the super successful self-made people in the world, they focus on one thing only that they're really exceptionally good at. That's it.
Yep.
And then they fill the gaps around them with everything else, but they figure out how to make money with that one thing. And I always took pride in like, I'm good at so many things. And you know what? Compared to a lot of people, I'm actually not. If you just went like one-on-one, right? But I figured out the one or two things that I'm good at, and I'm still working on that and just doubled down on that. No matter what anybody else said, you need to do this, you need to do this. No, I'm really, really, really good at this. And then I'm going to surround myself with people and resources that fill in the gaps for everything else, and just really figure out how do I make money? How do I grow with that one thing and lean into it? And I know it doesn't sound like a failure, but I mean, I pursued so many things thinking I'm good at something else instead of just, okay, like I could have saved myself years of just like, I'm really good at this. So just do that, like just own it. And then from that comes confidence, because then I think part of I told you I could go for hours about all the mistakes I made, but part of the problems I would have in the past is I wouldn't feel confident enough to ask for the deal, ask to get paid how much I deserve, because I'm like trying to do so many different things because I'm good at everything. Right. And now it's like, I own what I'm really good at, and it increases my confidence so that I can ask for the deal. I can ask for I can ask to be compensated for what I actually deserve and know in my core that they're getting a phenomenal value from it as well. And that's a huge deal, especially I find for women in business. Like it is a fact. I've read studies where like women just ask for less money than men. They just do. I don't think it's a sexist thing. It's a thing. And that's really helped me as well, just in business and just kind of pursuing things forward in my own way. Like you said yourself, you've seen me kind of evolve, and you said that you see how I'm doing things in my way. And it's because I really own it now. And I'm very certain in what I do, and that it is delivering value. And that's something that's been a real game changer for me in all aspects of my life.
And as you're watching or you're listening right now with Liana, like how would it change the game for you? Like if you could identify, get clear, like the first progress starts by telling the truth. You could really get clear on the thing that you're the very best at for you. And then you own it and live there majority of the time. Doesn't mean you don't do ever any of the other stuff, but you just own it and you stay in that genius zone, that sweet spot. What, I think Dan Sullivan also calls it unique ability. Like, what if you could stay there? How would it change the game for you to bring you more joy, more freedom, more flow, right? Because when you're in that space, from my experience, observing people like what Liana's describing, and also with a lot of the people we've worked with over the years, is when you can get into that space, you operate from flow, and it's none of it's easy, but it's more effortless. You do it. It's timeless, almost like you're at Vegas playing all day, all night for weeks on end, like a binger. It becomes that. And especially if you know how to turn that into profitability and value creation and all the sub products that go along with it. I mean, there's so much depth of wisdom here, Liana, with what you're sharing. And then the other part is you're watching or listening right now. Like when you think about what Liana mentioned of owning that thing, whatever that is for you, and it's different for everybody, but whatever it is for you, you have the truth about it. But then on top of that, you layer what she talked about, which is the simplicity framework versus, going for overcomplicating things. And look for not the 1,000 things to master to try to figure it out, but like, what are I have this domino on my desk. Like, what's the one domino? Your one domino right now that if you tilt it over, like Liana's describing, that has the potential to tip over 1,000 and also brings you joy and more value, and also brings others more value. Think about that. So Liana, with that, again, you've got such a depth of experience that we could literally spend days, not just hours, but
I have experience, but I have a lot of failures. I have a lot of battle scars, as you know, right? Like that's how we learn.
Exactly. So I want to speak to the mindset around that, because I something I find at times is as it relates to advertising, and marketing and digital marketing. I think some people get hung up, like it works or it doesn't. It's black or white. It works or it doesn't work. And it's like my experience, I think probably you'll have your own way to describe it. It's not whether it works, it's a when it works. Like you just eliminate the things that don't work to get to the things that do. And it will work. Marketing is just, it's like the sun coming up, right? When it's done correctly, but it's a process to get there. But I find that so many, even some of the best minds in the world, I won't mention any names, they almost look at like whatever marketing or advertising is going on, it's the destination, not what you're describing, this evolution to know that like good marketing is really about extending the humanization of things, the optimization of experience, the personalization of experience, right? So speak to the mind of that, in your own way, because I'd love to get your take on it.
Sure. Well, the first step is, and I know you said it's about the destination, but I also find when we're approaching marketing and you said, oh, it works or it doesn't work. Well, what's the definition of it working? And that's problematic with a lot of the ways that marketing is run, because right. Like, so, as an example, I run Facebook ads. So I'll come in and usually the CEO of my client is going to think, well, it works when I make more money, right? Or I make more sales. That's kind of all they're looking at, which is what they should as a CEO. But in mind, that's what's working. And in my mind, what does it mean when it works? Oh, well, okay, well, are they clicking through? Great. Like, are we getting leads? Are we getting like all these other little steps? I call them micro milestones, because that to me is when something's working. Whereas, the client I'm serving might just think, well, are they buying my high ticket product? Okay, well, a little Facebook ad here that is promoting your free book is not going to get you, right? That's putting too much pressure on that ad to get you a $10,000 sale. So it's about, so first of all, defining what does it mean, what works, which can be a big thing. And I think I actually come at it as expecting things not to work, which I know sounds negative, but I know it's going to work. But I find that our brains need that dopamine hit. So sometimes it's just so discouraging to be like, yeah, I know it's going to work sometimes, but you're kicked at it weeks after weeks after weeks, and it's not working. I kind of go into it knowing that, okay, 20 things I'm going to do today is not going to work. Yep. But one of those things is probably going to work. And this is not about throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping it sticks. It's all very intentional. I have lists and frameworks and things that I just kind of brute force success. I just like, boom, let me just test this one after the other. But I go and, oh, it's probably not going to work. You know, but if we keep testing, it is going to work. And I'm just looking, and I create these little micro milestones in between. And I like to do it from the top to the bottom. So at the top, like we need visibility first. Like we just need somebody to stop and look at us. Right. And because we can have the best offer in the world, but if nobody sees it, it's not going to help. Right.
Yep.
So, you can have the most beautiful car. You keep it in the garage. Who cares? Right. So let's start with visibility first. Boom. That's the first thing. So that's going to be my wins. I'm going to try and get that first. And then once we get enough people seeing your offer, then it's like, okay, well, like you said, we got to optimize that. Great. We're getting people there. Let's optimize it. There's going to be all different ways we can optimize it. And then once you've optimized it, now you got to figure out how to scale it. And that's also got its own set of what works, because you've got a whole bunch of other set of KPIs to figure that out. When I break it down that way, it's more manageable. You can find more simplicity, I find, in it too. And it doesn't discourage you as much, because especially media buyers, we get imposter syndrome all the time, even when it's not our fault. Like, your Facebook ads don't perform, or your Google ads don't perform for like 2 days in a row. You're like, I suck, right? Yep. And it's not you, it's the cycle of things. I mean, okay, sometimes it's us, but a lot of times it's not, right? It really, really isn't. And then that affects your performance, and it becomes this whole roller coaster ride, right? But I just, if you know that you're looking for these micro milestones, and you stick to the plan. I just know, like, if I can test, go into it. What did we learn? Test. What did we learn? Test. Then we kind of get there. But I have to I have to train my mind just to like focus on those micro milestones and be like, okay, yeah, this is what we're going for here. What's the best, most efficient, most effective way to get there? And then I can just go to the next thing. And then that's how you kind of stay in it for the long run. Because that's what I find is like people burn out way too fast. Yes. They like try, they'll try working on campaign, right? Yep. 1 month, oh, I'm done, right? The really successful people are like, I've been doing this for 3 years and like we're killing it. And because they just kept at it. You got that perseverance built into your brain.
That is so good. Now, as you think about that, riding off the shoulders of that, like, visibility, in our model, we call that connection campaigns, right? Like creating that opportunity in advance. It's almost like dating, right? You want to build a little romance in advance, right? Which is another way to look at that. And like, as again, you've got all kinds of data, the last decade, what you see works now, what doesn't. Like, where do you see the biggest opportunity? Like, if someone were here today and they're like, I want to put, paid media advertising into my business, I get visibility, so I'm going to do that. Like, what would you say the next couple key important steps that you see as a big opportunity for a lot of small businesses under 20 million that they could dive into and work to apply?
Sure. The biggest opportunity is actually extremely simple. And I'm going to say one of my failures, Dan, was I dismissed this idea for years because I'm like, I'm a media buyer. Okay. Like, I manage millions a month. This is not for me. This is for amateurs. Okay. I said, and I've told him this, it was, I've been working more closely with Dennis Yu lately, cause he has something called Dollar Day, which he's been teaching for like 17 years. And I knew about it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's just, that's for him. That's just, you're just playing around. Okay. But then I finally sat down and I actually I had him tell me, really understand why behind everything. And then I put it into practice, and I'm telling everybody this now, because this is something that everybody is most people are missing out. And the other thing is, again, I thought I was too big for my britches to do this. Dennis is like doing this for the Golden State Warriors, okay? Like for Rosetta Stone, for these big brands. So he compelled me to pay attention. And it's very simple. You put your content out there and you boost a video for $1 a day on all the different platforms. So if you have only $1 a day to spend, you can just do it on Facebook. And that was actually the challenge we just finished, is you put these, I recommend doing it with short video, but again, you don't have to. Just do a post, whatever it is, you put it out there, you put $1, you just boost it. It's like that. I love Facebook in the way that it's so simple. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but they do make it very simple. There's a boost button, which you're trained to be like, that is evil. It's not. Okay. But that's why I said, no, nobody professional boosts posts. And now I'm boosting them all the time, right? You press that boost button. Just for anybody listening, make sure you do this. Make sure you change it to engagement, turn off any automations inside of that they give you. And also in Facebook, what I recommend is either choose the targeting to be your followers and lookalikes of your followers, or if you don't have those types of people following you or your page, choose an interest and then just do 7 days and then put the budget as $7. So it spends $1 a day. What you're actually doing here is you're putting out content and you're testing to see how good it is. We're trying to get at least 10% engagement or higher, but you're just putting it out there. And here's the magic is, imagine doing that on Facebook, on Twitter, or X as it's known now, on Google, on Pinterest, like on TikTok, just using the minimum amount of money that you can spend behind videos that eventually you figure out actually, number one, people watch, and then number two, people take action, and you just let that run. Like imagine just the effect that that's going to have on, like you were talking about, connections and just being visible. And just that, it's very, very simple, but anybody can do it. And that's why a lot of us who are running bigger companies or bigger campaigns, we don't do it because it sounds too simple. But it actually is like it's like that. I mean, you can go more complicated and there's different layers in it. If you want to take a look at, okay, what's working, what's not working, what am I going to do? What type of content I put out there? Because depending on the business you have and what your goals are, you're going to put out different types of content. But it's kind of amazing that it just works because organic is amazing. But for most of us, it takes like 20 years for anything to happen. So that's just all paid media is doing, is just making it faster. But anybody can do it. Dan, I know you have a book coming out. You should be doing that like now.
I totally agree. And yeah. What's amazing, I love what you're sharing, because it's just so congruent with what we teach and what's in the book and all these sorts of things. Just so, because a question may pop up, I want to see if you can address it, which I'm sure you will. Which is take one content piece, so a video or text, boost posts. Yep. Somebody's probably going to ask, should I boost it in my page? Right? Because it goes into overcomplicating, right? You just gave them a guiguide, and now, well, you might do both.
Doesn't matter. Doing both.
Yeah, do both.
Do it. You don't have to. Do it. Turn your profile professional. Boost it from there if you want to. Do it on your page if you want to. It's up to you. Some people don't want to do it on their profile because they think it's too risky. Fine, don't do it. Do it on your page. It doesn't matter. That's the thing.
Exactly. I love how you simplify. That's why I wanted to pull that out of you, because
no pixels, no landing pages. Just put it out there. And if it sucks, who cares? You're spending $1 a day on it. And so you learned, okay, nobody likes that. So I'm going to try something else. Yep.
And so each day, a new $1 a day, 7-day campaign.
Not even. It just depends on your budget. If you have, you could take, if you say, hey, Dan, you said to me, hey, I can afford to spend $5 a day on Facebook. Great. Take 5 videos. You decide. Maybe it's 5 old ones, posts. It doesn't matter to me. You take 5 of those, or maybe it's like 3 old and 2 new. Doesn't matter. Boost those for a week. Leave it alone. Next week, take a look and see what happened. Reboost the ones that worked well and replace them with other ones that didn't.
And what's amazing is you're watching or listening to Liana right now, because we are totally congruent in this approach, is if you apply what she's sharing with you, don't be shocked that, it doesn't happen overnight, right? Yeah. This isn't designed necessarily, although you will get some viral effect from these things, especially when you have good engagement. But if you do this strategically, we have clients, I know Liana probably has clients, where literally you'll get millions of views to your target market over a period of time. Mm-hmm. If you're consistent. And that's the key, is the stamina, the consistency to do it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then what happens is you have this following, and now it makes it a little bit easier to then move them to the relationship with you, to then move them to the other things. I love what you're sharing here.
Yeah.
It's
And
just,
by the way, it's
can you
not
share
even
a story,
following.
by the way? I mean, you would probably have thousands of stories. Could you share
Yeah.
like maybe one story that comes to mind of somebody you helped do this and like what happened
Yes.
for
Oh, yes,
or
yes,
her?
yes. But I
Yeah,
did want to say one thing important.
yeah,
It's not about following. I don't care about followers. I
yeah,
care about visibility. I care if they're actually looking, if the right people are looking at my content. That's what I care about. And then I
yeah,
can leverage that for conversion campaigns. So I can give you a couple of quick examples
yeah.
of people who did this. And actually, these ones, they just started in 3 days and it happened. So Rich is in our AdSkills Pro certification program, and he did it after 3 days. He sent me a note and he said, "Hey, I think I spent only $2, but I had my first ever sales qualified lead." He writes jingles for chiropractors. He said he had his first ever sales qualified lead, and the chiropractor booked a call on Tuesday. Alex is starting over again, and he does marketing for life coaches and fitness coaches. So again, he's starting from scratch. This is why I think it's amazing. He's starting from scratch. He did it. He started changing what he posted. He started boosting stuff. And within 3 or 4 days, he posted and said, "I just had the perfect person, like who is my avatar, reach out to me and book a call." That's happened. Even for me personally, I started doing it more aggressively because I didn't. And then I started doing it. I had somebody I had known for years reach out to me and say, "Hey, Lianna, I need help." Right? I know what you do. I need help. I had somebody else reach out to me and say, "Hey, I know that you serve entrepreneurs and agency owners. I've got like an amazing connection for you." Like that never happened to me before because I would not say never, but it happened very infrequently to me because I wasn't as intentional about how I showed up. Right. And I've gotten 2 keynotes opportunities from this too, because they wrote, it said, "Hey, I saw," because I boosted some posts where I was speaking on stage. They're like, "Hey, I've been seeing you more in my feed. Would you like to come speak?" It's just, I gave you so many more examples of it, just how it works.
And as you're watching or listening right now, first of all, what's it going to cost you if you don't do this? Number one, right? Because, look at your visibility now. Well, what if you could create an instant surge in as little as $1 a day, potentially have the ability within a few days that you've built up your visibility, the views, the connection, the opportunities, and you had someone reach out to you to want to do business with you or to have you speak at their event or to, just getting connection to learn more about how you could solve their problems. What would that be worth to you for as little as $1 a day? So my request of you as you're watching or listening right now is apply and implement what Liana is sharing with you. I mean, there's so much gold here that we've covered. I know we're going to wrap this up here in a few minutes, but Liana, if people want to learn more, I mean, you've got, so many different courses, so many different trainings. You've got live trainings, you got I have to say, I'm incredible. I'm not impressed by a lot of stuff, but I'm impressed with like the body of work that you do and continue to do, and how we'll call it timely it is always. Like it's always timely. Like if something goes out of style, you guys are on it and it's updated. And I just appreciate the vigilance that you have at that. I don't know that you would describe it that way, but the vigilance and the discernment and also the quality. It's like if you go into a great, 5-star restaurant, right? A lot of times those restaurants will have every second counts. Like what I perceive of what you've built in your platform is that every day, every second counts, and it shows up in the quality of what you produce and who you're aligned with. So if people want to learn more about you, AdSkills, get access to some of the courses and trainings and get a bite of the apple, how do they do that? Where do they go?
Sure. Well, just come to our website. And Dan, I actually think you're making it really easy for people to find our website. You have a special link that they can actually go to. But it's adskills.com. We're going to be giving Dan a special link as well, because we'll create some goodies for your community as well. So watch out for that, I think, in the show notes. But you just go to adskills.com here, and just, if you join our Core Plus community, by the way, I say community because that includes getting access to our private Slack group. I'm in there every single day. And when we talk about simplification, you come in there. If you don't know where to start, just tag me or tag one of the guardians and we'll help you. We'll say, "What are you working on? What do you need?" "Okay, I recommend you start here." Because we care about making every second count. We care about you coming in, knowing what do you need to do. And most people need just a little bit of information, and then they need to implement, and then they need the support. So let's get you started that way. And that's what I care about, is I just care about people getting results and growing.
And I want to encourage you to go to adskills.com right now. Got set up as breakthrough3x.com/adskills, breakthrough3x.com/adskills. If you're looking for a way to apply and learn and discover how to put ads in place profitably, go there now. Go to breakthrough3x.com/adskills. If you're looking for a way to learn how to integrate AI to help you with your marketing effort, go there. There's a separate channel they've got in the community that you can get attached to that community, and they meet you where you're at. If you're looking for specific strategies like YouTube, well, there's a separate group that Liana has set up that you can go learn from some of the best guardians and talent in the world, sharing with you exactly what's working today, right now, this moment. You'll see if you enroll, you'll see like it's timely, like right now. Every day it gets populated. YouTube, and this goes on for multiple facets of your advertising and marketing. If you just want to connect with some of the brightest minds in the world, well, I'd encourage you to join, and then let Liana know you joined, and then maybe reach out to Liana so her and her team can help get you connected to who can help you solve your problem. So go there now, breakthrough3x.com, adskills/adskills. The links are in the show notes. I don't know where they're at here, somewhere on the page. So go there, or go to AdSkills directly. Let them know that you found it through this conversation, this interview. And the reason being is there's likely going to be some additional bonuses available to you as well.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.
Hey, it's Dan Kuschell. Click the buttons over here on the left. You can watch these other couple videos, as well as make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can get access to the latest insights, strategies, and wisdom, giving you more clarity, confidence, and direction for exponential business growth. Hit the button now.